Welcome to Deep Cuff Channel. Russian army began to flee from the territory of Ukraine. Ukrainian heroic soldiers continue to be victorious in every region. Russia may resort to a new way to reverse the tide of the war. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko warned Ukraine. Ukraine's current target is Crimea. Ukrainian army is carrying out a strategy unprecedented in history to seize the Crimea. Turkey may have provided critical war aid to Ukraine. Vladimir Putin is angry. News from Kherson shows the world the crisis of the Russian army. Ukrainian army, with its successes at the front, began to expel Russian troops from its territory. Latest news from the front proves the advance of the Ukrainian army. According to the breaking news, the Ukrainian armed forces managed to destroy 310 Russian soldiers, 10 UAVs, and 51 cruise missiles in the last 24 hours. It is underlined that the Russian forces suffered the greatest losses, especially in the Avdiivka, Bakhmut, and Lyman fronts. These fronts are critical to the Kremlin, as they are known as areas where Russian progress is relatively sustainable. Meanwhile, the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine has released a brand new operational update on the war. According to the statement made by the Ukrainian General Staff, Ukrainian warplanes carried out massive airstrikes on a total of 6 regions where Russian troops are active. As a result of the attacks, Russia was pushed behind the 6 fronts it controlled and lost 2 anti-aircraft systems. Hearing the sounds of Ukrainian warplanes, the Russians must have experienced great fear. Russians, who could not overcome the effects of the operations carried out by the warplanes, were shaken by a second attack. These attacks were carried out by Ukrainian drones. It is stated that the Ukrainian army carried out massive drone attacks against the Russian army using Punisher unmanned aerial vehicles. Punisher systems used in these attacks stand out as the first reported use in the war in Ukraine. It is stated that these systems have a much higher success rate in their operations, unlike standard kamikaze unmanned aerial vehicles. After the attacks with these systems, the Russian generals ordered a rapid counterattack and drove their troops to the front. Galina Lugova, head of the military administration of the city of Kherson, said in a telegram statement that Russian troops carried out a total of 17 attacks in the operation against the Kherson region. It was recorded that the attacks started at 1500 and continued until the evening hours. It is among the allegations that Russian leader Vladimir Putin personally ordered this operation. Major General Vadim Skibitsky, Ukraine's deputy head of military intelligence, told the Kiev Post that about 30,000 Russian troops withdrawing from the western bank of the Dnieper River earlier this month were approaching the front lines from which they had withdrawn. The Russians are waiting for our attack, so they created a defensive line in Kherson and in the north of the Crimea, Skibitsky said. Russia aimed to support the advance of its troops in this region by shifting most of its troops to the northeast front. These claims are also confirmed by photographs published by independent satellite companies. However, at this point, Russia is trying to prevent Ukraine's progress by bringing its troops closer to Kherson. Meanwhile, Andriy Yusov, representative of the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, claimed that Russian President Vladimir Putin was planning a major missile attack on Ukraine. Andriy Yusov said, "They are trying to break us, forcing us to negotiate on their own terms. This won't work. We understand that the frequency of large-scale missile attacks against Ukraine is about a week. In short, they are in the process of preparing for the next big attack," he said. But according to a military report released last week, Russia only had enough stock to launch 3 major missile strikes. In addition, Ukraine's defense minister Alexei Reznikov shared a picture on Twitter showing how Russia's precision-guided missile supply is rapidly declining. Russia's depleted missile stocks and unsuccessful advances at the front make us wonder about Vladimir Putin's next move. Also, Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko said that he has 15,000 soldiers ready to fight in Ukraine. Existence of the Russian-Belarusian military contingent in the south of Belarus has been known for a long time. These statements by Lukashenko were considered by military analysts as a direct threat to Ukraine. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian army is adding new solutions to its solutions on the front. Allegedly, the Ukrainian army is digging large tunnels at the front to reach Russian troops faster and provide minimal exposure to missiles. In a report by the Ukrainian Military Center, photos of the underground modules reveal how the engineering units of the armed forces are working day and night to keep soldiers safe. This strategy of the Ukrainian army can cause serious damage to the Russian army, especially with the special forces soldiers taking more responsibility at the front. Current primary target of the Ukrainian army, which is trying to implement this strategy, is Crimea, and this strategy can give a serious advantage on the way to Crimea. On the other hand, it is accepted by all military authorities that the Ukrainian army rehearsed the Great Crimean Offensive, especially in the attacks on the Sevastopol port. Unmanned systems used in these attacks had a serious success against the Russian army, showing that Crimea was not actually a castle. Ukraine, which started preparations for the major offensive, supplied dozens of 230 laser-guided missiles from Turkey. According to the news source, 50 TRLG-230 missiles were sent to Ukraine. Unnamed sources on the matter confirmed a similar report on Monday by Oryx, a defense blog that claims the weapons were sent from Turkey to Ukraine. While the report is still unconfirmed, some sources claim that as many as 200 missiles have been sent to Ukraine so far, and more may be on the way. Delivery of these munitions to the Ukrainian army seems to indicate a great preparation in which the Ukrainian troops are in. Bayraktar TB2 unmanned aerial vehicles draw attention as the system that caused the most damage in the operations of the Ukrainian army since the beginning of the war. In addition, not only Turkey but also England, which provides critical aid to Ukraine, can help take Crimea back by the Ukrainians. Past day, the British Royal Army reported that a total of 3 Seeking helicopters were sent to Ukraine. In addition, British Defense Secretary Ben Wallace told reporters that 10,000 artillery shells would also be sent to assist the Ukrainian military's efforts to secure areas liberated from Russian troops. With this aid, England, after the U.S. Army, consolidated its place among the countries that helped Ukraine the most. If we come to the importance of these helicopters sent by the British Army, the Ukrainian army can use these systems to neutralize the naval units serving in the Russian Black Sea Fleet located a little further west of Crimea. Because the main purpose of use of Sh-3 Seeking helicopters is to provide protection and attack against submarine and surface targets. These helicopters were developed for the British Navy in response to the increasing threat from Soviet submarines during the Cold War. It is already known that Ukrainian pilots and some military units have been training on British soil for a long time. Therefore, it is thought that there will be no problem in adapting these helicopters to the Ukrainian defense inventory. Ukrainians want to prepare their vehicles, such as the Bayraktar TB2 and these helicopters, for the attack quickly and start the Great Crimean operation. Removal of the Russian Black Sea Fleet located close to this region will be critical for Crimea. If the Ukrainian army can successfully implement this strategy, we may see that Crimea will come back under Ukrainian control very soon. Although Russian troops are trying to establish lines of defense against this step, there is no force that can stop the invincible Ukrainian army for now. Victory to Ukraine. We will continue to monitor the world and especially Ukraine. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We have reached the end of another video. You can support us by liking the video. You can easily follow new videos by subscribing. I wish you all a war-free day. See you.